Hello, my name is Kale Johnston. The password is trust no one, and the title of my piece is A New Way to Teach Science. Now, I don't know why, but it seems like in these last few months I've had a lot of extra time on my hands, and in that time I decided to start watching TV again. Now, that may not sound cool to you, but it was kind of cool for me. You see, I transitioned to being more of a YouTube and video games guy about 3 or 4 years back. And as such, I wanted to try and catch up on every and all of the new shows that I had missed in that time period. And it turns out there were a lot. I had to watch a bunch of different shows, and a bunch of shows just in general. I watched everything from live action shows, animated shows, claymation shows. Those were a little weird. I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Mandalorian, The Dragon Prince, and everything in between. But one show that I thought was really interesting and pretty cool was a show called Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone is a Japanese animated show about a genius teenager named Senku trying to survive in the Stone Age using science. And what's interesting about this show is that the creators of the book that the show was adapted from took great care to ensure that everything within it was scientifically accurate. He's doing experiments and creating these things all from basically nothing, and most of it, if not all of it, is scientifically accurate to a point. The way science is presented in the show makes it extremely easy for you to pick up and learn just little things here and there about it, which is what happened to me. And I believe we can take this easy way of learning science and apply it in a classroom setting. But how will we do it? First, let's go over a quick summary of the show and some other similar ones to it so that we can get an idea of where I'm coming from with this. Then we'll talk about how Dr. Stone specifically can be useful in teaching science in classrooms. And finally, we will talk about why our classroom system needs a change, or at least a bit of tinkering. So, let's go find a new way to teach science. Now, this is just a bare bones plot summary, but you'll get what you need from what I'm about to tell you. One day, a great green light appeared in the sky, and everyone on Earth was turned to stone. 3,700 years later, our genius protagonist Senku awakes from the stone. Now, how do we know it was 3,700 years later, and how do we know that our protagonist is a genius? Well, because he counted every single second of every day, of every month, year, and century of that 3,700 year period. For comparison, that's about 116 billion seconds. And I know this is a fancy character I'm talking about, but he's a pretty smart guy. So the first thing he does is try and figure out if there's a way he can revive people from the stone. And there is. Turns out he makes this little chemical formula that allows the stone to kind of crack and break around you, and suddenly you're free. The problem is it takes a little time to get the materials for it, so he can't just keep reviving people all willy-nilly. The first thing he does is revive his friend, and they go to revive their other friend, completing their friend trio. But unfortunately, along the way to revive their second friend, they are cornered by a pack of lions and forced to revive someone that they recognize to be the strongest high school in the world, Tsukasa. Now, because this is a cartoon, their strongest high school in the world is a lot stronger than our strongest high school in the world. And as such, he defeats the lions with one mighty punch. And he seems to be a pretty cool guy. He wants to make sure they use every part of the line so they don't waste Mother Nature's gifts, and he seems to be a pretty nice, upstanding citizen. Senku and his friend quickly find out, however, that is not the case, as Tsukasa does not believe they should revive any of the adults from the stone, as he says they will ruin this new world just like they ruined the old one. So Senku and his now two friends, they revive the second one, flee from Tsukasa. A series of shenanigans ensue, where Senku's two friends trick Tsukasa into thinking that Senku has died. In exchange for protecting them, Tsukasa agrees to take them under his wing as long as they give him the formula for creating the revival fluid. Senku, however, not being dead, discovers a primitive village. The main plot of the series is Senku gaining the villagers' trust and preparing them for the coming war with Tsukasa's Empire of Might, as he calls it. Now, there are shows that have done something similar with science, just not to the extent that Dr. Stone has done it. One that comes to mind is the Magic School Bus. For those of you who don't know, but let's be honest, all of you do, the Magic School Bus is a show about a kindergarten teacher who takes her kids on magical adventures in their magic school bus through different aspects and disciplines of science. The bus can shrink and change shape and grow and turn to a plane and things like that to make it easier for their escapades. For example, one episode they shrink really small and go down one of their classmates' digestive systems and learn about the human body. And another time, the bus changes into several different animals so they can explore the Pacific Ocean and its ecosystems and the damage pollution has on it. This is an easy, entertaining, and zany way to introduce science to kids who may not be interested in the topic, especially elementary school kids. It makes it easier for them to kind of understand and process the information because there's kids about their age, asking questions while they are going through these processes. And Dr. Stone does this in a similar way, but towards a more teenage, adultish audience. Now, how can we use Dr. Stone's method of teaching science in a classroom setting? Well, now the plot of the show doesn't sound educational by itself, but it's the execution of it that is. One of Cinque's first big projects is to make an antibiotic drug to help cure the village priestess of an unknown ailment and to gain the villagers' trust. Starting from nothing, it's actually not too many steps to make, about 25. But this is where the show truly shines. It devotes time and energy into showing you each individual resource, step, and problem that might be acquired along the way to making the antibiotic drug, devoting more time to acquiring the more complicated parts of it, like iron, high-powered magnets, electricity, or the toxic gas hydrogen sulfide. And it shows you where you can find these things in nature or how to make them yourself. Nothing dangerous, at least, of course. And it shows that science is often not a fast thing and is a slow crawl to the finish line most of the time. It takes Cinque and his new group of friends about 6 months to make the antibiotic drug. Now, you may be thinking, that's great and all, but how does it help us in a classroom setting? Well, it turns out that our eyes and brain are specially adapted to help process visual information in a moving format. And what does that mean? Well, it basically means we're better at seeing things through video and understanding them. Now, your science teacher or whatever could draw something on the board or show you a slideshow, but it's not going to achieve the same effect that it would as if someone doing it in a video would explain. That's why you tend to watch videos like the Magic School Bus in earlier grades, because it's easier to explain it when you're seeing it like that. This is especially true for abstract concepts, as because they are abstract and hard to quantify and understand when they're just being explained. Seeing one expressed and utilized in a video format can be especially helpful for internalizing and memorizing it, especially in children. Now, why does our education system need a change or some tinkering? According to a study, around 50% of high school students are stressed, and 25% of that 50% said that their stress was homework or study related. It's no secret that high school can be one of the most stressful times of your life, with trying to figure out what clique you fit into, what you're going to do, what college you're going to go to, who you want to be, and everything like that. Before even adding in homework and studying, it's no wonder that it's that stressful. We should be doing anything we can to levy that in any way possible. And as such, we should having a TV show about science that is an easier way to understand and study things would be a great way to levy that stress. Another study found that 1 in 3 high school students are bored most or all of the time in class. Once again, having a TV show with a plot line that is easy to follow could help some of those kids just be a little more drawn and pulled into class so they'll understand something next time and be more drawn in the next time they come to class and ready to learn. First, we talked about the summary of the show and some similar shows like it, so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from with this whole science-y show genre. Then we talked about how Dr. Stone can be helpful in a classroom setting for teaching. And finally, we talked about why our teaching system needs a change. I personally believe an above 50% stress rate in high schools is unacceptable, and that we should be doing anything we can to levy that in any way. Having a TV show that makes it easier to study would be a great way to help kids who are having problems learning that one abstract concept that they just couldn't quite get when the teacher explained it, or helping kids who are bored in classrooms have something to laugh at and look at and talk about the plot lines with their friends in class. Maybe not in class, but after. You get the idea. Something to talk about and learn about in an entertaining and zany way. That should be the goal, to remove stress from schools as much as possible and to make it an easy and fun learning environment. Thank you.